Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the 49ers just lost their third straight game. They were once 5-0. A long time ago, they were 5-0. They are officially 5-3 entering the bye week. The Seattle Seahawks are now in first place of the NFC West. This was an absolutely embarrassing loss. 49ers 3 games in a row. They're officially on fraud watch. It's nasty, man. Like, there's nothing positive we can say about this game. They lost 2 games on the road to Cleveland and Minnesota. So you're like, okay, they're coming back, right? They're coming back home. Let's go. Home crowd. I didn't hear any energy. I know I wasn't at the game, but from what I understand, it just seemed like there was no energy. The team has no energy. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know where to start. Defense was terrible. Offense was terrible. Like, there's nobody you could sit here and say was great. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, cool, man. 17 games straight with a touchdown. That is their offense. They run Christian McCaffrey every single play, ladies and gentlemen. No Trent Williams. They can outrun the ball. Jalen Moore, he's not an effective running blocker. You know what? Colton McKivitz, he hasn't been effective at all. A lot of penalties by this offensive line. Brock Purdy, man, was he rushed back this week? I don't know. He looked abysmal. 2 interceptions, then the third turnover at the end. Brock Purdy just did not look like him. Brandon Aiyuk dropping passes. George Kittle made some big plays, but he also had some big drops, man. Like, this team is inconsistent. Deebo Samuel, is he that important to the team? If we're going to sit here and talk about MVPs of the team, we sat here and said CMC. Is Deebo Samuel the team MVP? Holy smoke, man. We have a Bengals fan on the live stream. Shout out to the Bengals fan. Your team cooked. Joe Burrow was unbelievable, man. That is a real deal. Holyfield of a quarterback. 28 for 32, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Burrow is he was 28 for 32. 283 yards and 3 touchdowns. Joe Burrow cooked us. Jamar Chase, 10 catches, 100 yards. Man, Isaiah Oliver looked bad. Drake Greenlaw, he stood around sometimes. There was a lot of missed tackles. Talanoa Hufanga didn't look great. Nick Bosa, where is Nick? Where is Nick Bosa? I couldn't find him, man. That last touchdown the Bengals had, that little run touchdown, Bosa missed so bad. I don't know if it's just the players or if it's the scheme, but it was a brutal night, man. I got fried. This team got fried. Like, I love to sit here and be positive and look for a silver lining, but it really wasn't. The defense. What happened to this defense, man? Like, is it the coordinator that bad? Like, these players were missing tackles. You know, Steve Wilkes isn't on the field making tackles, but at the same time, maybe he does need to go on the field and look them in their eye and say, yo, make a play. I don't know. It was an abysmal performance. They were missing plays left and right on the defense. They couldn't get a big-time play. I mean, for most of the game, it's crazy because the 49ers hung around in that game. They had a chance to win this game. And then Brock Purdy, when the pressure was on him, kind of looked like Jimmy Garoppolo tonight. It was ugly, man. Absolutely ugly, man. I just can't believe how much they dropped off from the beginning of the season. They were 5-0. 5-0. They were looking like the best team in the NFL. They were looking so good. Like, defense was hitting, offense was cooking, 30 points. But now if we look back and we look a little closer, this is one thing I said today earlier at the halftime. Like, okay, the defense was kind of playing tough, a little bad in the first half of those first 5 games, and then they made adjustments, right? And the offense was scoring 30 points. So it didn't matter if they weren't playing, like, horrible, or not up to where we thought they should, because the offense was scoring 30 points. So it didn't matter. But they definitely were playing better in the second half of games. Wilkes did make a little bit of adjustments in the second half, but it didn't matter because Joe Burrow, he adjusted himself. Like, they played man coverage. Second half, Steve Wilkes was being a little bit more aggressive. But they did force him to punt. Joe Burrow figured it out, and he was dicing still. And then you had Brock Purdy again on the other side of the ball. 2 massively bad interceptions. They just were really, really bad. Like, we're seeing a regression from Brock Purdy. We got to talk about that. As bad as the defense played today, Brock Purdy he did not play well today, and that was an ugly, ugly performance. Like, I love Brock. I think he's a great quarterback, but maybe they should have rested him this week. I said it all week. I said, I don't know if I trust Brock coming off a concussion. Like, was he 100%? I don't know. He got cleared. At the end of the day, man, this team is definitely different without Debo, without Trent Williams. They need both of those guys. They need them both. Trent Williams is not just important for pass protection. We know how great he is at pass protection. Jalen Moore is okay. But the run game is non existent without Trent Williams. And the other thing is, man, Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to go away from Christian McCaffrey. And at some point, you need to figure something out. Like, I absolutely love Christian McCaffrey, but this is getting to a point where at some point, man, give Jordan Mason some carries. Elijah Mitchell is not working out. He gave him a couple carries. Elijah Mitchell was a non-factor, especially running behind this offensive line. It was rough. And again, like you guys said, in the comments, I saw that the interceptions were costly. Those turnovers, always costly. Whenever you turn the ball over on any game, 100% it's going to be costly. VYN says Trent and Debo aren't going to help this defense. That's a true statement. Definitely a true statement. And that brings me to this next topic is 49ers are looking to make a trade. After today, does a trade matter? Like, I know it's 5-3 right now. They got a long season to go. But what happens if they make a trade? Is it going to, spark them? Last year, the trade sparked them. Christian McCaffrey sparked them. What do the Niners need, ladies and gentlemen? What do the Niners need? Michelle says, glad we were going into a bye. I actually couldn't be happier because the Niners need this bye. They need to do a lot of reflecting because this was ugly. They need to. Skyflow says we need a cornerback. I agree, ladies and gentlemen. Isaiah Oliver is so inconsistent. Like, he made some plays sometimes, and then sometimes you're like, what is he doing? This was a Steve Wilks guy, and this is what tells me everything I need to know about Steve Wilks. I'm not sold on Steve Wilks. I know everybody's going to get mad. Oh, you can't just blame the coordinator, this and that. Absolutely can. His signing this offseason, his big offseason signing, was Isaiah Oliver, and he touted him up like he's this great corner. He was the best nickel corner in the market. He's so bad. He's getting cooked. He's missing tackles. If Isaiah Oliver was the big signing by Steve Wilks, he don't know ball. That's all I got to say. Like, if Steve Wilks looked at this free agent market and he was like, oh my God, and he was moist, pause, when he saw Isaiah Oliver, this man absolutely does not know ball. If that was his guy, and he saw Miles Hartsfeld, who didn't make the final roster, ladies and gentlemen. Isaiah Oliver and Miles Hartsfeld were his two big-time signings. Miles Hartsfeld didn't make the final roster. Isaiah Oliver, he's getting cooked like filet mignon out there, getting cooked. Fish filet. Jalen Moore was horrible, says 49ers throwback. Yeah, he was. But you don't expect him to be great, right? Like, I'm not expecting Jalen Moore to go out there and tear it up. We just need Trent Williams. To me, the biggest thing about losing Trent Williams, because he's missed games every season, right? He misses about 2 games with that ankle injury every year. To me, it tells me that Trent Williams is going to miss games. He's a little bit older. You need to invest in that position. They should have been doing a better job of getting depth. They were okay. They were content with Jalen Moore. They were content with Colton McKivitz. They did not put an emphasis on offensive linemen. That's what it tells me. Like, yeah, Jalen Moore is getting crushed out there. Did you expect him to do any better? I didn't. Maybe you guys did, but I didn't. I sat here and said, I'm not a big Jalen Moore fan. The problem is the 49ers didn't put in the emphasis on offensive line, just like they haven't done it with cornerback. And you're right, guys. I see comments out there. Dominic Lenore didn't look good. Mooney Ward didn't look good. None of those guys look good. And also, you're not getting pressure on the quarterback. Like, yo, Arik Armstead, we got 2 sacks. Thank you. Finally, man's getting paid a lot of money. This defensive line, I expect you to get more plays, to get more sacks, to get more pressure. Like, finally, they made some plays. Today, they got some sacks. It didn't matter because they weren't getting enough pressure. Joe Burrow's so good. He threw the screen passes. He was throwing deep. All right, he's going to get sacked a few times. He has a bad offensive line, and he cooked the 49ers. Man. Skyflow says we should promote Kasurk as DC. The thing is, they asked Kasurk to be the DC. They gave him the opportunity. He doesn't want to be the DC because there's a lot of pressure that comes with it. And if he fails, we know how fast people are going to switch on him. I love Chris Kasurek as a D-line guy. They shouldn't have settled for Steve Wilkes. He never was like an elite head coach, defensive coordinator type guy, and is a DB guy. I mean, I love Kasurek, and I don't think your idea is bad. I just don't think that Kasurek wants to do it. And if you're going to force a guy that doesn't want to do that job, you might not get good results. But if they get rid of Steve Wilkes, if they cut him, then yeah, they're probably going to have to hire within house, and that might be the move that they make. But I don't know. There's a lot of questions, guys, and these next couple of weeks are going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough. SF says we're pretenders. Do you guys think we're pretenders, contenders, pretenders? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I right now, after losing 3 games, that's a pretender to me. They're for sure a pretender. Like, you can't sit here and tell me this is a contending team after what we just witnessed. Like, 100%, there's no way this team is a contender. Sorry. Let me, I got to charge this other phone here. Absolutely. Throwback says the O-line has been bad, and it's not the same without Trent Williams. Absolutely. It's heartbreaking, man. 49ers kind of peaked early. I feel, and there's been a couple of takes. I think Skip Bayless said it. A couple other people have said it. The 49ers might have peaked early. I honestly feel like they might have peaked early. After that Cowboys game, everybody was riding high. The emotions were so sick. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, Super Bowl champs!" Everybody, we were hyped. I'm not gonna lie, I was hyped. I'm not gonna sit here and say I wasn't excited. I didn't hide it. I thought the 49ers were going to be a Super Bowl contending team. I mean, they still got talent, don't get me wrong, but the way they've played these last 3 weeks, 49ers peaked early. They can turn it around. There are worse teams out there, but these last 3 games, 49ers have not played like a top 10 team. Absolutely not. Defense was bad. Offensive line plays bad. Quarterback plays bad. Wide receivers are dropping the ball. Let me talk about Brandon Aiyuk, because this is going to get lost in the sauce. I don't know how many people are going to talk about this. I don't know if a lot of people are going to believe this take, because everybody wants to, hold their tongue. People want to sit there and protect certain players. And I absolutely love Brandon Aiyuk, and I think he's great. I hyped him up more than anybody this offseason, probably. He needs to make big-time plays. He needs to make big-time catches. He's dropped too many passes. There were so many plays where if Brandon Aiyuk would have caught the ball, it would have been a better position for the 49ers, and maybe they could have scored more points. And that puts a lot of pressure on your quarterback. At the end of the day, man, I love Brandon Aiyuk. If he wants to get paid, if he's about to get paid, and be about that business and be a top 10 receiver in the league, got to make those plays, man. Like, I love this team, but not everybody's free of criticism. And Brandon Aiyuk needs to step up, man. He's had 3 weeks where he's been the center of attention. Like, okay, CMC's hurt. Debo's hurt, right? Brandon Aiyuk, you're the guy. You're the number 1 target, right? Remember last in the offseason, he says he's the 4th option. 100,000 yards is the 4th option, and he was hyped about himself. Now he's probably the number 1 or 2 option, and he's dropping passes. So I got to throw that out there. No disrespect, but hey, at the end of the day, step up. You want to get paid. To me, right now, if Brandon Aiyuk, if the season was over and we sat here and said, should they pay Brandon Aiyuk? I'm going to say no, man. He has not earned the money that he should be getting at the end of the season. That's all I'm going to say. Brock Purdy definitely selling himself. I'm not going to sit here and say Brock's been great. These last 3 games have been so bad for Brock Purdy. The worst 3-game stretch. But now, is this the real Brock Purdy? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Is this the real Brock Purdy? Or was the Brock Purdy we saw before these last 3 weeks the real Brock Purdy? Or is he something in between? I don't know. This has been a tough stretch for Brock Purdy, and he has looked absolutely mediocre, to say the least. The real Spider-Man says, great job you lost in front of Montana, Rice, Ronnie, and other legends. We got to talk about this too, because the 49ers definitely wet the bed. They wet the bed on this, because remember they posted the other day, they're going to be playing in front of all the legends. They're going to celebrate the Super Bowl victories against the Bengals from the 80s. Like, why? First and foremost, I get it. Like, you guys are so proud of those Super Bowls. Why are we celebrating the Super Bowls from the 80s in 2023? Like, real question. I'm actually very, very intrigued by this. Like, why were they making this a thing? I knew that was going to cost them. I knew that was going to be something bad that could bite them in the ass, and it really did. The fact that they got this 1980s team celebrating, flexing on the like that to me was bad juju waiting to happen. They lost in front of the legends. You had Joe Montana on the horn today, and they were flexing the fact that they beat the Bengals in the 80s. Man, don't do that. Do not do that. Do not do that. Eric Klaus says Gregory brought the losing vibes from the Broncos. You know what's so funny that you said that? Because my best friend texted me right after the game. I swear to God, let me pull up my text. My boy Moose, you know my boy. He texted me after the game. he says, we need to cut Randy Gregory. He said we traded this guy and lose 3 in a row. Absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's true, but like it's funny to say that because you brought up this guy from a losing team, and you can sit there and say maybe they got a losing culture in the locker room. It's a funny. Like, it was funny that he said that. It's ironic and that you commented that. So, I don't know, man. There's just a lot going wrong with this team. 49ers 0-3, Broncos 2-0 since the trade. Maybe you're on to something. Ah, man. What do you guys think? Brock Purdy, do you think they should have played him this week? Obviously, he had a bad game. Do you think Sam Darnold would have played any worse than this today? Now, I'm not going to say go start Sam Darnold, but if Brock Purdy was coming off the concussion, and I said this during the week, I said, I don't know if the 49ers should play Brock because he is coming off a concussion. Because now that he had a bad game, people are going to desecrate this man for 2 weeks in a row. People are going to go in on Brock like mad. They're going to go crazy. The haters are going to hate him. And it's kind of justified because he has played abysmal. But if you would have played Sam Darnold now, I'm not going to sit here and say that it would have been okay to lose with Sam Darnold, but the team would have, the loss, to me, this is what I'm saying. To me, the loss wouldn't have hit as hard if the 49ers would have threw Sam Darnold out there. You kind of expect to lose with your backup quarterback, right? Sam Darnold out there, if he would have had a crappy game, it's like, okay, Sam was bad. We didn't have Brock Purdy. He'll come back after the bye. 49ers had their starting quarterback who got cooked against the Bengals, and now you're like, oh, should he have started? So that's why I bring that up. At the end of the day, man, and I know a lot of people are going to hate me on this one, maybe the 49ers should have started Sam Darnold because if you lose, it probably doesn't hit as hard as this loss. You had your starting quarterback out there, and yes, the 49ers run game was not as good as it should be. We didn't have Trent Williams, didn't have Debo. Now you're asking Brock Purdy to carry your team, and he couldn't do that, and that is the problem. Your starting quarterback, who you believe in, did not do anything to take this team over the top and win the game. There was chances. The 49ers had chances. They did make a few stops at the end. They could have won this game. And now you have 2 weeks to think about an ugly loss. 3 losses in a row. Next game is against the Jaguars. The Jaguars are not a bad team. They are not a bad team. So tough turnaround. This was this was a tough loss to swallow, guys. Michelle says the commentators mentioned that too. Purdy starting in the concussion. Yeah, I said it all along. You know, I do have a medical degree. I do know a little bit. Like, I was questioning it during the week, but at the same time, I said, you know, if the doctors are going to clear him, we got to trust them. But I don't know, man. I don't know. And not having Trent, that was my biggest concern, was you don't have Trent Williams. You're throwing your quarterback out there basically to the Wolves against a very well-rested Bengals team, man. And it ended up going as bad as it could. So, whew, man. Yeah, it was tough. You know, I don't know. It was a weird game. Again, a lot of these players are not stepping up. Nick Bosa not earning his money. I mean, if we played the Eagles today, I couldn't tell you that the Eagles were going to lose that game. Niners got a lot of soul searching to do. They have a lot of time to focus and figure this out. They need to figure out why they're losing and, you know, what's the deal. I don't know. Steve Wilkes definitely has a lot of answers, questions he needs to answer. He's not looking great. Kyle Shanahan also, let's be honest, man. Everybody think Kyle Shanahan's a guru, a wizard, and I love Kyle. He's done great things. Okay, you've had no Debo Samuel for the last couple of weeks. You know Trent Williams is out. Like, you have to figure out. You have to scheme things up, man. His offense looks the absolute same for the last 3 weeks. It doesn't change. They're just going to give the ball to CMC, to CMC, to CMC. He's not dialing anything special. Fullback fullback sneaks, just some weird play calling. Again, it's the whole team. It's not just one aspect. It's not one player. It's not one side of the ball. Both sides of the ball have been abysmal, man. 3 losses. Um, I don't know. It's ugly. It's just been rough. Wilkes definitely. Shepard says, I feel like Kyle falls apart when his favorites are gone. Yeah, that's definitely a true take. We've talked about that here during the last couple of weeks. I said that myself. I said when Kyle loses certain players, when he loses like Debo, like he doesn't know what to do. He just kind of falls apart. You're absolutely right on that take. It's going to be interesting to see what the 49ers do on Tuesday. Maybe they could trade for a defensive coordinator. I don't think they will. They definitely need to get an edge rusher. Go get Montez Sweat. Go get another cornerback because right now those two positions have been bad. It's hard to find another offensive lineman. I don't know. It's definitely brutal, man. Kyle doesn't trust his rookies. He definitely doesn't. That's why we haven't seen a guy like Ronnie Bell. To me, okay, these last 3 weeks, I know Ronnie Bell is not Debo Samuel. Give him a shot, man. He deserves a shot. Like, you have nothing to lose at this point. Like, you're losing games. You got these players. Give them a shot, man. Jordan Mason, Ronnie Bell. Give them a chance. Jair Brown, he was a 2nd-round pick. This was your big rookie that you drafted. Give him a shot, man. What if he makes a big play? That is the one thing that separates Kyle Shanahan from a guy like Andy Reid, who's won Super Bowls, and he's been a great coach. Andy Reid's not afraid to play rookies. And if they start making plays, you know how great that is for his confidence? That is so good for a rookie. When they come out there and they start balling out, bro, their confidence skyrockets. So please give these guys a chance. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Okay, if Diamond Lenoir's not making plays, if Isaiah Oliver's not making plays, anybody, if they're not making plays, man, get the next guy up and give them a chance. Give them an opportunity. Ronnie Bell, man, this guy's wasted potential right now. And again, Jair Brown, like this guy that you guys sat here and said, oh, he's great. He's going to be the future of this team. Sometimes the future might need to get started a little early, right? It's like when you have a quarterback, right? When you have a young franchise quarterback, sometimes you bench him, you hide him, you keep him on the bench, and then eventually when that veteran quarterback who's not getting it done, you're going to pull him out and you're going to start the quarterback. It should be the same with every other position in this league. If your quarterback's not good, you're going to move on to the next quarterback, right? If your defensive back's not good, move on to the next defensive back. If your running back's not good, get the next guy up. If that logic should trickle over to every other position. Kyle gets stubborn, man. But it is 5-3. There's still a lot of football left. I'm actually glad the bye week's coming back. I'm gonna rest. I don't know, guys. It was rough, man. Yeah, Purdy's gonna have some growing pains, but these growing pains are just ugly. It doesn't matter if the Niners make a massive trade. If Wilkes is there, yeah, that's a good take too. Trey's laughing right now. A lot of people are laughing at the 49ers right now. How do I think the 49ers move ahead and get out of this hole? I mean, they just got to make some personnel decisions. They got to figure out you got to go back to the drawing board. You got to look at the film. You have to figure out what the hell is going wrong. Why are you losing games these last 3 weeks compared to the first 5 weeks? I mean, play calling, injuries, lack of execution. Like, players might be too cocky. Bad calls, bad play calls. But there's everything. Everything is going bad for the 49ers. It's literally everything. They need a hard reset right now. And the bye week is the perfect time for them to just mentally cleanse themselves and get back to basics. They need to really go back and figure out if they're actually a contender. They need to ask themselves in the mirror, like, are we a great team or are we just great because we have good names and we get paid a lot of money? This team needs to figure it out, man. And that's going to take some real hard soul searching. It's not an easy question. You can't just answer that. You can't just say, okay, we're going to be back next week because we got the bye week playing the Jaguars. We're a great team. Like, you can be great all you want on paper, but you got to go execute. You guys ever heard of the term paper champions or paper tigers? Paper champions. 49ers right now are paper champions. On paper, they look amazing. On paper, they look great. They look like champions. On paper, when you look at this roster, you're like, oh, man, look at these guys. Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Aiyuk. Look at these guys. They're so good. They're not playing up to their standards. They're not playing up to their standards. They're great players, but they're not playing great on the field, man. And that's it. That's the bottom line. They've lost their identity. They've lost their swagger. They've lost their mojo. Whatever you want to say, they don't have that tenacity. You could tell today they just look flat. They just look like they were paper tigers. They look like they were getting babied out there. It was ugly, man. 3 weeks in a row of the same thing. So the real Spider-Man says we need teams to doubt us again. I don't know. It's tough. It is tough. It's rough, guys. It's going to be tough sledding. These next 2 weeks are going to be absolutely crushing because content when the team loses is so bleak. But you know what? For me, that means I'm just going to work a lot more. I'm going to make some money. I'm going to make my bag and not worry about it. It's going to be a rough season right now. But they can rebound, but they have to figure out their identity. They have to get back. They got to get their swagger back. Sometimes that is the hardest thing to do is to get your mojo back, man. And that's going to be tough for this team. Hopefully in these next 2 weeks, they can figure that out. Because guess what? This schedule is about to get real deal, Holyfield. It's about to get real tough. They got the Jaguars. They got the bird gauntlet coming up, right? You got Seattle, Philly, Seattle, the Ravens. Buccaneers is not even an easy game. Like, yo, this is a tough second half of the season, ladies and gentlemen. Depressed Niners fan said this should have been a wake-up call. Absolutely, man. This absolutely should have been a wake-up call. And the fact that it wasn't tells you everything you need to know right now. This team is not locked in. They are not locked in. They are not locked in. Man. Michelle says, not even sure how they lost their mojo. I feel like I'm watching a completely different team. That's a fact. It looks like an absolutely different team. Like the first 5 weeks compared to the last 3 weeks, 100% looks like a different team. You are so right. Michelle, you hit the nail on the head. It doesn't even look like the same team that was out there for the first 5 weeks of the season, man. Peter Parker says this team looks like they're in an absolute fog, man. They're in an absolute fog. You guys ever been to the Bay? When it's foggy out there and you can't see, that's exactly how it looks right now. Oh, man. Aiden says, I'm going to dress up like Bosa for Halloween. Can't even see me because he's ghost mode. I hate to sit here and agree with you, but Bosa's looking like a ghost out there. Looking like a ghost. He's quiet out there. Although he did get his pressures led to Armstead's 2 little gimme sacks. But, hey, I think Bosa need to go out there and eat the money up. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. 17 points and 3 losses, says Isaac. Highlight that. 17 points and 3 losses. They can't figure it out. Look at this, man. Joe Burrow cooked. Joe Burrow cooked, man. Look at this. 62 total plays for the Bengals. They had 400 yards. They had 1 penalty for 15 yards. They only had 1 turnover to the 49ers 3. Turnovers were huge. Oh, man. It was just rough. It was rough, man. Trunk says, is this part of the script? If it is, the script writer is an ass. If this is part of the script, whoever wrote this, man, they're going to give me some depression because I do not like this part of the script. Real Spider-Man says, if you told me after we dominated the Cowboys we'd lose 3 straight games, I would have called you insane. I would have said the same thing. I would have locked you in a mental ward. There's no way I saw this one coming, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, man. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for now. I'm going to hop in a little later. I'm actually going to, you know what I'm going to do? I need to go and get some fresh air. I'm going to go and do something fun because it's Halloween season. And as bad as the 49ers, as spooky as they look, I'm going to get out of the house. I'm going to take my daughter. We're going to go see the Harry Potter house. Last night we went and saw the, the Nightmare Before Christmas house. We need to get out of the house because that's the only way to medicate this loss is go out and think about something else. We'll be back later. I'll drop some content definitely on Instagram. I'm going to go take a look at the press conference that Kyle had, see that, post some clips, and I'll talk to you guys a little later. I appreciate the support. As bad as this was, we're going to talk through it. We'll be back live a little bit later and on Instagram and everything. We'll talk through it, but I'm going to get some fresh air. You guys have a good rest of your day. Yeah, it's rough. It's been a spooky This literally was spooky season today, man. Mm. Y'all have a good rest of your night, man. Take care. I absolutely love you. Real quick before we head out, I know the 49ers are doing bad right now, but I do want to say I appreciate every single one of you guys. We hit 1,000 subscribers on this page last week, and I just want to say thank you very much for all the subscriptions out there. You could be anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me right now, watching me being upset about the Niners. So I appreciate every single one of you. I love y'all. Um, yeah, have a good rest of your night. Take care, man. I love y'all so much. You guys have a good rest of your day. Hopefully, the 49ers can get a win the next time they play. But I can't guarantee you that.